Boom! Welcome into Sports Bet Betting Insight today. Pauly and Teddy. It's Wednesday, July 5th. Deep dive. Minnesota Vikings. We'll finish out the NFC North, and we'll get to big game breakdown. Wood on the mound for the Dodgers, 9-0 with an ERA of 1.83. We'll get to that big series at home against the Diamondbacks coming up. I know a lot of you tweeted you wanted a breakdown of the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. Not much to break down as far as preview because you're talking about Russell and Nadal and one of the greats of all time, Joey Chestnut. Joey Jaws does it again. He was as high as $6 offshore. He broke his own record. He had 72 hot dogs in 10 minutes. It's his 10th title, his 10th belt, and maybe even more impressive, he once ate 121 Twinkies in 6 minutes. What a performance. What a true American hero and an athlete. Joey Jaws, you are the man.
Yeah, and it's funny because you say, what is an athlete? In my mind, an athlete is someone that can eat 72 hot dogs in 10 minutes. That's insane, Pauly. And, of course, the over-under on Chestnut was 71 and a half. Right on the number. You know, tough to beat those hot dog props, man. The lines are tight, and the bookies got it right.
I couldn't believe the female who four-peated. She won. She ate 41 hot dogs. She once ate 13 pints of ice cream in 6 minutes, too. Oh, unbelievable. These guys are warriors, no doubt about it. The big news in the NBA, it's finally done. Hayward to the Celtics, 4 years, $128 million, although he'll opt out after the third year. 12-1 and 15-1 available right now in Vegas, even after Hayward joins the Celtics. At least Danny Ainge got something done here with all these assets as Stevens and Hayward reunited again.
Yeah, 4 years, $128 million for Gordon Hayward. Of course, the nice tweet. And really, if you read his piece, he wrote a whole long diatribe about how tough the decision was and thanking the fans in Utah. And, of course, his tweet, thank you, Utah. Tough for Gordon Hayward to leave the only NBA home he's ever known. That being said, $128 million makes it a little bit sweeter. And, of course, when you talk about the Eastern Conference, this is finally an elite player going from west to east. Maybe the Celtics will be capable of giving the Cavs a bit more of a battle when it comes to the playoffs next year at this time.
All right, bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. A vicious beat and a horrible push. The Dodger game, a big move on the Dodgers we'll get to in a second. They win 4-3, but Jansen gives up a 3-run, 2-out home run to ruin Dodger run line tickets, and the total of 7 pushed in that one. First and third, 2 outs, and Del Scasco hard to say his name, but he hits a 3-run shot off Jansen, whose velocity was down in the 9th inning.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about bad beats, run lines are going to happen, unders are going to happen, but this one was particularly tough when Kershaw, is throwing a no-no, when the game's under all the way, when you got 2 outs in the 9th, and you give up the 3-run dinger. That, a very tough push and a very tough beat if you had the Dodgers on the run line.
Rays, there's a bad bet. The Rays Cubs under 8, bet down to 7.5 and under minus 120. Lester had nothing. He got roughed up early, and the Rays win 6-5 in Wrigley.
Yeah, I mean, bettors had all the runs they needed by the 5th inning of this one. 5 runs against John Lester in the 4th. Tim Beckham with a 2-run jack, his 11th of the season, and a real surprise for a Tampa Bay team that continues to win and continues to stay in contention in that AL East.
Yeah, bad bet. Look at this. Listen, I mean, Kluber's been awesome. This was a tough loss, though. Indians bet up to 340 at home against the Padres. It was Cahill against Kluber. Kluber gives up 1 run, and that held up because the Indians went 0 of 10 with runners in scoring position, and the books needed this one because of all the Kershaw-Kluber parlays.
Oh, yeah, there was a ton of Kershaw-Kluber parlay money out there, but let's give credit to a bullpen that we haven't given a whole lot of credit to this year because they haven't deserved it a whole lot. That, of course, being the Padres bullpen, but they got the job done yesterday against the Indians. 4.2 innings of work, 1 hit, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, and 0 runs allowed as Cleveland gets shut out as minus 340 chalk.
Wow, how about bad for the books? A nice move on the Blue Jays. They were betting against CC off the DL. He had nothing. Happ pitched well in that one. That was Blue Jays went off the favorite. And a 40-cent move on the Brewers at home against the Orioles. They were going against Ubaldo.
Yeah, I mean, J.A. Happ, he's back on form. Now, 3-1 with a $1.99 ERA over his last 5 starts. And the books didn't like the results there with CC lasting only 63 pitches in that ball game. And boy, I'll tell you what, the odds makers might have been fooled by Ubaldo pitching a 2-hit shutout in his last start at Toronto. Bettors weren't fooled. They pounced on Milwaukee in this one, and Jimenez gave up 3 home runs over 5 innings. Orioles were down 3-0 in the second and were basically never in the game. Near 40-cent move on against Baltimore. That was a bad result for the house.
Yep, 20-cent move on the Marlins. They were dogs in St. Louis. Bettors knew what they were doing in that one. And look at the Dodgers. Oh, my God. 270 up to 330, as high as 350 here in Las Vegas. It's nothing but Dodgers money every day in Las Vegas. Let's update the graphic now from yesterday. Kershaw, Dodgers 16-2 when he starts, 33-6 the last 2 years, and since July 4th, 2015, 46-10 when he starts. And of course, as we talked about earlier, bailed out with the 3-run shot. At least the books got helped out there with the no-run line.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much that sportsbooks can do when Clayton Kershaw pitches. They know the Dodgers' money's coming, and the Dodgers' money has come. They price it high, and it continues to get priced higher as the bettors get involved. All the books can do is hope the Dodgers lose every once in a while, especially with Kershaw on the hill. And obviously that hasn't happened a whole lot this year, with LA 16-2 when Kershaw starts. And now, as you mentioned, 46-10. 46-10 in every start that he's made in the regular season over the last 2 calendar years. That, Pauly, is truly an impressive run for Major League Baseball's best pitcher.
Yeah, I wanted to point one more out. A small move on the Astros, but our play of the day never had a chance. I mean, Newcomb had nothing. But how about this? The Astros are 30-9 on the road, averaging 6.9 runs per game and plus 101 run differential. Oh, my God.
That's sick. I mean, those are downright sick numbers. And, of course, when they're on the highway, you're not laying the big prices that you have to lay to support Houston at home. There was actually money coming in on Atlanta yesterday, as well as money coming in on the under. Both of those were wrong sides.
I saw a 20-cent move early. Okay, it must have been some late Braves move in that one. At least it was nothing but Houston money at the South Point early on. Up next, big game breakdown, the Mets and the Nationals, and also that big series continues Dodger Stadium with the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers on SportsBit. Betting insight today on SBRpicks.com.
Go to SBRodds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
All right, time for big game breakdown. As always, live odds. Sponsored by and powered by BetOnline. More than just an online betting platform, they boast a focus on the player approach that built their reputation on offering clients nothing but the best cutting-edge technology, enticing promotions, and the latest sports betting odds, which leads us to the Mets and the Nats on ESPN. BetOnline number, Mets $1.11 on the road, 9 the total, under minus 135. Teddy thinks it's going to 8.5. DeGrom against Roark. Well, I mean, it's over for the Mets. They went 1-3 against the Nats at home at City 2 weeks ago. Now 0-2 in this series. 7-1 run had created some life and some momentum, but that's about it for now. But I'll tell you, DeGrom has been dynamite here lately for the Mets.
Sure, DeGrom's been dynamite, but the Mets outfield is just patchwork right now. You know, Cespedes a real question mark for tonight. Lagares and Conforto on the DL. The infield, you know, it's patchwork anytime that Jose Reyes is playing anywhere. Reyes is down to what? He's hitting 209 now with a 356. You know, the slugging percentage. I mean, they're not pretty numbers. I have 24 shortstops with enough games to qualify on defensive WAR. Reyes is number 23. Only Tim Anderson of the White Sox is worse. And when you look at that Mets defense this season, a shadow of what it was and a big part of their pitching drop-off. Look at that. The park-adjusted defensive efficiency paid. They're ranked number 30th. The batting average on balls in play, the BABIP, they're ranked number 29. Clearly, it's affected Jacob deGrom and the entire Mets pitching staff.
Sure, no doubt, because look at these numbers. The walk rate, the highest of his career, 3.3. That's up big time from 2015 and even 2016 as well. That's led to a decline across the board. And as we've talked about for many months here, well, all season really with the Nationals, it's that bad bullpen. Remember we had that quote with Dusty Baker saying Rizzo's on it. Still hasn't made a move here trying to get a closer. They blew another game the other night.
Yeah, I mean, they had a big enough lead on Tuesday that the bullpen didn't matter. But here's a quote from the GM, Mike Rizzo. Quote, "Right now, we're kind of testing the market. People aren't going to want to help us out of the goodness of their heart. That is true. Nonetheless, you got to make a move." I mean, they've had discussions with the A's this week about Ryan Madsen and about Sean Doolittle. I don't know if either one's a major answer for the back end of that bullpen. But when you have Scherzer, when you have Strasburg, the Nats just need one other starter to be solid and burn innings. Rourke has the potential to be that guy. You know, if he's an average pitcher and eats up innings, he will serve his role. But he's really struggled of late. 6-6 with a 5.27 over the course of the season. The fielding independent pitching, the FIP only 4.40, but he's not eating up the innings, only averaging 5.2 per start, and the walk rate almost a full walk above his career average, 3.4 for every 9 innings.
Yeah, last 4 starts, ugly, downright awful. 16 innings pitched, 22 earned runs, 28 hits, 11 walks, and 14 strikeouts. And he's owned the Mets, though. Beat them back in April, and 3 starts last year, only 3 runs allowed as well. All right, game number 2. Bet online, Dodgers 220 at home, 7.5 the total. It's Godley against Wood. We've been telling you about Wood for a long time now. 9-0 with a 1.83. And, you know, I don't buy the excuse for MLB. Who cares that he only has 73 innings? He's got to be in the All-Star game. He catches a break possibly. More on that in a second, but throw up the graphic. Look at this, probably the best pitcher ever if he doesn't make the All-Star game with these numbers. Number 1 in winning percentage, number 2 in ERA, number 2 in FIP, number 1 in xFIP, and number 3 in Sierra, Skill Interactive ERA. Foundation for success is the ideal one. Strikeouts and ground balls. We've been talking about this his last 3 or 4 starts. The strikeouts per 9 is 10.6. The ground ball rate is 65.5. Since MLB started charting ground ball rate in the mid-90s, no pitcher has ever had a season of more than 10 strikeouts per 9 and 60% with the ground ball percentage. It's amazing what he's doing, Teddy. And all you hear about is Kershaw.
Yeah, and again, say that no pitcher has ever had a season of more than 10 strikeouts and a 60% ground ball rate. And again, we're talking about a stat that's only been around around 20 years. But when no one's done it in 20 years, and Wood's doing it this year, and he's gone 9-0 doing it, yeah, clearly he deserves the attention that he's getting. So what happens when you have that type of strikeout rate and you have that type of ground ball rate? Well, it's hard to read his pitches. So batters have a lot of swings outside the zone. It's hard for them to make contact when they do swing. And when contact is made, the balls aren't being hit hard. Again, look at the advanced metric stats. The offensive, the swing and miss percentage, where they're swinging the balls outside of the zone. 36% of the time, that's number 4 in baseball. The swing strike percentage, number 11 in all of baseball. The line drive rate, you know, they're not hitting him for contact. At number 7 in baseball. So all the stats are saying Alex Wood deserves all the accolades he's getting. And of course, the Dodgers won his last 9 starts by a combined 46 runs. And they didn't even bat in the 9th inning 6 of those times, going 8-1 on the run line.
Well, Kershaw's going to start Sunday now. That's official. So that means he can't pitch in the All-Star game. So he's going to be out for that, which should open up a spot for Wood possibly.
Oh, yeah, it's very likely, one would think. I mean, Kershaw's quote when asked if he would start Sunday, yeah, as of now, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't. It's not like Kershaw needs to be pitching in the All-Star game. Dodgers would much rather use him the day before the break and send Wood onto the festivities than have Kershaw used up or fail to use Kershaw in the All-Star game and then not be able to use him immediately after the break either.
How about Godley? A big surprise this year, just like the Diamondbacks. 3-2 with a 2.67 after an ERA of 6 and change last year. Burning 64 innings pitched over 10 starts. They're 7-3 in those games. No fluke in the numbers. The FIP's 3.19. Not a bad stat, bad category anywhere. Strikeouts per 9, 8.3. Walks per 9, 2.8. You see the ground ball and the swinging strike percentage and as well. The confidence continues to grow. Last 4 starts, 27 strikeouts. First 13 hits allowed. You want to keep riding it with Wood?
You know, there's no way I can lay this type of price against Godley and the D-backs. As we showed on yesterday's SportsBit, one of the best graphics that we've had when it comes to value. And again, value isn't necessarily winners, but value is what bettors, serious bettors, have to consider with every wager they make. And at these type of numbers, with Zach Godley, with what Arizona's done on the road, with what Arizona's done in the underdog role all season, can't lay it with Wood here. It'd be D-backs at the plus price or nothing for this better.
All right, that's Big Game Breakdown powered by Bet Online. Up next, the Deep Dive. We finish out the NFC North. What a weird season it was for the Minnesota Vikings. They're up next on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
We're back on Sportsbit. Before we get into our deep dive, I got to do a promo for the conference, man. Are you guys coming? Join me, Clay Travis from Spock Sports Radio, Gil Alexander from the VSiN Network, Matthew Holt from CZ Technology, and a whole host of other big names in the sports betting world at the inaugural International Football Betting Conference. It's Friday and Saturday, August 4th and 5th in San Jose, Costa Rica. Visit www.ifbc.live. Sign up for your free invite today. Again, August 4th and 5th in San Jose, Costa Rica. www.ifbc for International Football Betting Conference.live.
All right, Minnesota Vikings, win total 8.5, under -120. Last year, 8-8 straight up, 7-9 to the under. Mainstream stats, 16 giveaways, which was 7th, 27 takeaways. Plus 11 turnover margin was tied for 4th. Offense, 5 yards per play, bottom 5. 3.2 yards per rush, dead last. 7 yards per pass, below average. 38 sacks allowed, bottom 10. It was a nasty defense. It was a strange season. They started 5-0. I thought they were going to make the playoffs and make some noise and win a couple games in the playoffs. They lost their head coach with eye surgery. Norv Turner, the offensive coordinator, quit in November. The offensive line was decimated by injury. They lost Adrian Peterson. They lost key guys on the defense. After the 5-0 start, the bye week happened at the wrong time, and nothing went right from a health standpoint, and they finished 8-8. It was a horror show after the early start, and the Dallas game at home on Thursday night should have won. They blew both games against Detroit. They should have swept them. They lost to Philly with all those turnovers when there was a kickoff return for a touchdown with the Eagles as well. Every close game went against them down the stretch as well. It was a weird season for the Vikings.
Yeah, but an interesting story with Minnesota, and let's go back to those initial offensive stats. They're bottom 5 in yards per play. They're dead last in yards per rush. They're below average in yards per pass, and they're bottom 10 in sacks allowed. Okay, all of that came, we know the offensive line was bad, and we know that Adrian Peterson got hurt and they couldn't run the football all year. But Sam Bradford came in and had the highest completion percentage of any quarterback in the NFL. And he completed all this dink and dunk and dink and dunk. He didn't take any shots downfield. And they were able to have some success moving the football via the pass. But boy, when it came to crunch time of close games, Sam Bradford did exactly what he's done at every previous stop in his NFL career, which is not make plays with the game on the line. He cost them, I'm not going to say it was Bradford alone, but Bradford, in my mind, a big part of the reason why that offense failed so much over the back half of the campaign following that 5-0 start.
I love what they did in the draft. They got a gift with Cook falling to them at the second round. They also grabbed Murray from the Raiders as they say goodbye to AP, who goes to the Saints as well. They also they addressed the offensive line with a couple moves in the defense as well. I don't think they need a lot. They brought Reif in to shore up the offensive line, and I think they'll compete with Green Bay for the division. What do you think of this team?
Well, I mean, let's start with the defense, because the strength of Minnesota last year and in recent seasons is defense. Mike Zimmer, the head coach, is a defensive mind. He was Marvin Lewis's defense coordinator in Cincinnati, and a bright defensive mind at that. And last year, again, a 5.1 yards per play allowed. That was tied with Seattle for number 5 in the NFL. They had 41 sacks. That was number 5 in the NFL. Their opponent's QB rating, only 83. That was a top 5 pass defense. 4.2 yards per rush allowed was average. Obviously, when we talk about what happened in the draft and the offseason, it was mostly about fixing the offense that couldn't do anything right for extended stretches last year. But defensively, this team does have a lot of pieces in place to have another solid season this year. Certainly that secondary, very, very good on paper, as is the pass rush. When it comes to the offensive line, I mean, glaring weakness last year. Was a complete disaster for this squad. And they spent huge money in free agency. Picked up Riley Reif and Mike Remmers, 2 guys who have been decent, but certainly haven't been elite level offensive line at the NFL level. But you like what they've done on defense. You like at the running back position with a little bit of depth now, obviously Murray and Cook. And you look at the offensive line improvements, maybe there's some things to like about this squad, but there's also some things that I'm not in love with about this squad. And some of it has to do with the interior of that offensive line, where the rookie third-rounder, Pat Elflein, may well end up being the starting center, or Joe Berger, another guy who I don't have a lot of faith in. Zimmer on the offensive line, quote, Riley Reif is playing left tackle, and he's done a nice job. This is after mini camps. He's going to go to work every day, make you compete. He's going to make you work. I really like his mentality. Mike Remmers, who's playing the right tackle, is really doing the same thing. The thing I like about Mike is, he gets a chance to go after Everson Griffin every day, so he's going to give him a lot of different looks. And Danielle Hunter, he gives him a lot of different looks, different sets, changes things up, and he's a battler, and he'll compete. And frankly, that offensive line didn't compete last year. Remmer and Reif have the potential to give them something of an upgrade there, something they desperately need if they're going to be a playoff team this season.
I say good riddance to Patterson. He leaves and goes to the Raiders. But here's another look at. They took Treadwell in the first round last year. He caught one pass in 9 games. What's that all about? What a bust that guy was in his first year. What do you have on the schedule?
Well, I don't blame Treadwell. Again, Bradford didn't take any shots. They brought in Treadwell to give.
Well, it's not on him. That's the scheme. Caught one pass in 9 games.
I'm going to disagree. Bridgewater was, they brought in Treadwell to give Bridgewater a deep threat. Bradford, every pass was a check down pass. So I'm not saying that Treadwell he was wide open every play and burning the field and the coaches didn't do it. It didn't get him involved. I'm saying that some of that has to do with the fact that it was a quarterback that took every check down in the Alex Smith fashion. When it comes to strength this season, they have the weakest opposing schedule in the division based on this year's win total numbers. Slightly below average for the NFL as a whole. Very comparable to last year in terms of strength of schedule numbers. Minnesota gets their fair share of prime time games. They got a Monday night game at Chicago. They have a Saturday night game before Christmas at Green Bay, and a handful of late starts as well, plus a game, I believe it's in London, against the Cleveland Browns. They get 3 of their first 4 at home, and in fact, if you look at their schedule pre-bye, no surprise here. The 2 games will be dogs are at Pittsburgh and at home against Green Bay. Every other game they're going to be favored in. No surprise here if the Vikings once again get off to a hot start and face the tougher half of their campaign down the backstretch.
What do you think, 8.5?
I'm not betting them over. I'm worried about Zimmer. I'm worried about the chemistry issues as things fell apart last year. And I'm no Sam Bradford fan. I will not bet Bradford over 8.5.
All right, let's get back on track. Money time, play of the day. Back to the Mets and the Nationals. What are we doing?
Yeah, we're going to take a look at Washington as the home underdogs. Game number 904, Washington Nationals plus 101. Tanner Roark has had success, consistent success against the Mets. And boy, that Mets defense has literally been a comedy of errors this season. We'll hold our nose and pray the Nats bullpen doesn't give it away. Washington, game number 904 plus 101. That's our play of the day.
All right, tomorrow we start the AFC South, another division. We'll knock out a couple teams and then off for a week, as there's nothing going on with All-Star Week with the Home Run Derby and all that, so no games going on. We'll be back after the 2 days going to next week. We'll be back, what is that, then the 17th. And hey, next week, even though we're on vacation, SEC Media Days start, so college football right around the corner. Thanks for watching. Tell your friends. SportsBit, betting insight today at SBRPicks.com.